Okay, before we get started, I just want to make something very clear.
Drugs are bad, dude.
Yes, correct.
Unless they're fun.
What? No. See, this is exactly why I wanted to talk first.
Fine, drugs are bad unless they're prescribed.
Okay, that's better.
Or grown naturally.
No, dude.
So
try again.
vegetables are drugs now?
That's not what I said.
Potatoes grow naturally, dude.
Yeah, and potatoes aren't psychedelic or make you hallucinate.
Yeah, you've clearly never had my aunt's
Dude,
potato salad.
can we please just introduce the episode?
Absolutely, dude. Today we're talking about mushrooms.
Psychedelics.
Magic mushrooms.
Whatever.
God's Funyuns.
What is a God's Funyun?
I don't know, dude. But if I'm eating something that's let me talk to the creator of the universe, I want it in flaming hot.
Nobody said magic mushrooms let you talk to God.
That's literally in the episode title.
It's a question.
So we're looking for God?
We're discussing whether altered states of consciousness may have influenced religious experiences and humanity's concept of gods.
Right. So we're looking for God.
What? Fine.
I already checked under the couch, dude.
Why would God be under the couch?
That's where I found the remote, dude.
God's not a Roku remote.
You don't know that, dude.
I'm begging you to take this seriously for 30 seconds.
Okay. Serious question.
Thank you.
If God created mushrooms,
Here we go.
And mushrooms make people question whether God exists,
Okay, go on. I'm listening.
did God accidentally invent his own bad reviews?
Oh my God, I can't do that.
Because that's terrible marketing, dude.
You know what? That's actually...
Interesting?
No, stupid. I was going to say stupid.
Still made you think.
Unfortunately.
Also, quick Gary update.
You found Gary.
No.
Then there's probably not an update.
Oh, there is, dude, because I found his search history.
Oh, for the love of God, please tell me why you're going through the squirrel's search history.
Because he's missing, RG. Try to care a little.
Fine. What did he search?
Are acorns poisonous?
That's concerning.
Can squirrels get passports?
And that's more concerning.
And then, how many mushrooms is too much mushrooms?
Mm-hmm. You think Gary took psychedelic mushrooms and left the country?
I don't know, dude.
Great.
But his last search was, can God extradite me?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, I think that's who he's running from.
We're starting the show.
Well, shouldn't we find Gary first?
He's a grown squirrel.
He's 3 years old, dude.
Yeah, that's like 30 in squirrel years.
I don't think that's how squirrel years work.
I don't care how squirrel years work, dude.
Okay, you seem tense.
Yeah, I'm working with an idiot. Our squirrel is apparently an international fugitive, and we're about to spend the entire episode questioning God.
So, a normal Saturday?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, then.
Just do the intro, dude.
Are you sure you want me to do the intro?
Yeah, you're just going to try to trick me out of doing it anyway.
Whatever you say, dude. Welcome to The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. My name's Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show. From what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Welcome back to The Witch Show. Before we get into this one, I want to thank everybody for listening to the show, especially those of you who keep coming back every single week. Whether you've been here forever or this is your first episode, I appreciate the hell out of you. But my returning listeners, you guys are the reason I keep doing this. I love you all, and I genuinely could not do this without you. So, with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, send this to your friends. Let everybody know about The Witch Show. We're a community that's trying to grow. Now, I should probably give you a warning because this episode's going to get a little bit wild. We're talking about psychedelics, hallucinations, consciousness, God, religion, and whether some of humanity's most sacred beliefs might have started with somebody eating the right mushrooms. And here's the thing. I'm not going to tiptoe around religion today. I'm going to question it. I'm going to criticize it. I'm going to make fun of parts of it and probably say some stuff that's going to make a few of you mad. So, if you're religious and hearing your beliefs getting challenged genuinely bothers you, this might be the episode you skip. No hard feelings, and I'll catch you next Saturday. But if your faith is strong, if you believe in your God and you're confident enough in that belief to hear somebody challenge it, stay right here. You might disagree with everything I say. You might spend the next hour wanting to throw your phone through a wall. That's okay. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to think with me. Because underneath all the jokes, arguments, and inevitable hate comments is one question that humans have been trying to answer for thousands of years. Did we discover gods? Or did we create them? And what if psychedelics had something to do with it? I say, grab you a bag of magic mushrooms, gobble it down real quick for this episode because it's going to get crazy in here, and then you tell me what you think. Seriously, get into my comments section and tell me what you think about this episode. Tell me the previous episodes, what you thought about those. Get engaged, people. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm very, very interested in striking up a conversation with pretty much every single one of you who follow and listen to my show. So if you haven't, hop onto my Facebook group real quick, get into the message sections, and start commenting. So, before we start making everybody mad on every major religion on earth, we should probably establish what we're actually talking about. Because somebody says psychedelic drugs, your brain probably jumps straight to some dude named Moonbeam staring at his hand for 6 hours. Chill out, Moonbeam. You've had fingers for your whole life. It's not new. Anyway, psychedelics are a surprisingly complicated family of substances that can radically alter perception, emotion, thought, time, and even your basic sense of being a separate person inside your own body. And humans haven't just recently discovered this stuff. We've been deliberately messing with the consciousness for, a very, very long time. One of the biggest names here is psilocybin, the psychedelic compound found in certain species of mushrooms, your magic mushrooms, if you will. After you consume it, the body converts psilocybin into what's called silicon. This interacts strongly with your serotonin receptors in the brain, particularly the 5-HT2A receptor. So that's where things start getting really weird. Your normal experience of reality depends partly on different brain systems communicating in relatively organized and predictable ways. However, under psilocybin, those patterns can change dramatically. Perception changes, time can stretch or collapse, emotions can become unbelievably intense. Even the boundary between me and everything else can start disappearing. Some people describe that as ego dissolution, the feeling that the individual self has temporarily broken apart or merged with something larger. But mushrooms aren't even close to the whole psychedelic universe. There is so much more. There's LSD, an extraordinarily potent synthetic psychedelic. There's mescaline, found naturally in peyote, and San Pedro type cacti. And that's not it. There's so much more. There's DMT, a psychedelic famous for producing extraordinarily intense and sometimes bizarre experiences. DMT is also one of the psychoactive compounds involved in ayahuasca preparations, where other plant compounds prevent it from being rapidly broke down in the digestive system. Then there are substances such as ibogaine, which has a very different pharmacology and is being investigated in connection with substance use disorder. And MDMA, which technically isn't a classic psychedelic, but often gets discussed alongside psychedelic-assisted therapy because of its profound effects on emotion, fear, or even social connections. These drugs aren't all doing the same thing chemically. Psychedelic is a convenient umbrella over a much stranger collection of substances. So it's not merely a story about people seeing the walls breathe. Scientists have become intensely interested in what these compounds may do to the brain specifically. One major area of research in neuroplasticity, essentially the nervous system's capacity to modify connections and recognize itself. Preclinical research suggests some psychedelics can promote structural and functional changes associated with plasticity. Human research has also produced evidence consistent with changes in the brain functioning following psilocybin, but exactly how much therapeutic improvement comes from neuroplasticity and exactly how that works in humans is still being figured out. That's an important discussion because saying psilocybin regrows your brain sounds literally incredible, but it's not what the evidence currently establishes. So, contrary to most of the rumors where psilocybin's allegedly regrowing neural pathways, what we can say is already interesting enough. Researchers have investigated psilocybin for conditions including major depressive disorder, treatment-resistant depression, and PTSD, among others, of course. And this isn't some guy running experiments out of the garage. The FDA has developed formal guidance specifically for clinical investigations involving psychedelic drugs. And in 2026, they announced regulatory actions intended to accelerate development of psychedelic treatments for serious mental health conditions. There are active clinical trials investigating psilocybin for PTSD, including advanced stage research. Psychedelic medicine has moved forward enough into mainstream science that regulators are now having to figure out how these unusual drugs should actually be studied. And some early results are absolutely difficult to ignore. In a small 2026 pilot involving 12 military veterans with severe treatment-resistant PTSD, researchers combined psychotherapy with 2 doses of synthetic psilocybin. 1 month later, 9 of the 12 veterans no longer met the diagnostic criteria for PTSD. Now, and this is important, that does not mean we've proven mushrooms cure PTSD. It was tiny, it was early staged, It wasn't designed to establish definitive efficiency. Bigger randomized control studies are necessary, but 9 out of 12 people with severe PTSD no longer meeting diagnostic criteria after a month? That's exactly the kind of result that makes scientists say, okay, we need to investigate the hell out of this. And this is where psychedelics become much more interesting to me than simply drugs that make you hallucinate. Because these substances don't just make people see funny colors. They can profoundly alter the machinery responsible for constructing what we experience as reality itself. Your identity, your perception of time, your relationship with your memories, the distinction between yourself and the world around you. Even the feeling that another presence or another intelligence is there with you. And if modern humans who understand neurons and receptors and pharmacology can experience something that powerful and walk away saying it felt more significant than ordinary reality, then imagine eating one of these things thousands of years ago. You don't know what serotonin is. You don't know what hallucination is. You don't know what the receptor is. You don't even know what the brain really does. You eat something growing from the earth and suddenly you're somewhere else, speaking to something you've never seen before. And then it shows you the universe, and when you're finally back, what do you call it? Maybe you call it a hallucination, or maybe you call it God. So now we know what psychedelics are, but here's where the story gets considerably harder to dismiss as a bunch of hippies eating mushrooms in the woods. Modern researchers aren't asking whether psilocybin makes you see cool shit. We figured that part out already. They're asking whether temporarily disrupting the brain's normal patterns might actually create an opportunity for certain deeply entranced patterns to change. Things like depression, trauma, addiction, anxiety conditions where the brain can seemingly become trapped in patterns of thought and behavior that are extraordinarily difficult to escape. And increasingly, researchers are asking whether psychedelics can temporarily make some of these patterns more flexible. And one of the concepts at the center of the research is neuroplasticity. Your brain isn't a computer with permanent wiring. Connections between neurons can strengthen, weaken, or appear and disappear, reorganize throughout your life. And psychedelic research has produced some genuinely fascinating findings here. Laboratory and animal research has found evidence involving dendritic growth, synaptic changes, and plasticity-related signaling. Human brain image research also shows psilocybin changing patterns of brain activity, network organization, and signal complexity. But I want to be precise, okay? Scientists, they haven't demonstrated that the mushrooms simply repair damaged neuron pathways, like replacing busted wiring. What we're seeing is evidence that these drugs may create a temporary state in which parts of the brain become usually capable of changing. And honestly, that's more interesting anyway. Because think about what depression and trauma can feel like. The same memory, the same fear, the same internal story, the same road through your brain traveled so many freaking times that eventually it feels like the only road that exists. Psychedelic researchers are investigating whether treatment can temporarily loosen some of those rigid patterns, not erase your memories, not magically delete trauma, but potentially create a period in which relationship between these memories, emotions, or your sense of self become more malleable. That's one reason these clinic studies don't generally look like handing you a bag of mushrooms and saying, hey, good luck, buddy. The drug experience is typically embedded inside carefully controlled protocols involving like preparations or supervision and often psychology supports or integration. And the depression research has now gotten enormous by psychedelic research standards. Compass Pathways have been conducting phase 3 trials of synthetic psilocybin formulations called Comp 360 in people with treatment-resistant depression, people for whom conventional treatment hasn't worked adequately. In one pivotal phase 3 trial involving 258 participants, a single 25 milligram dose produced a statistically significant reduction in depression severity compared with the control dose at 6 weeks. A second phase 3 trial enrolled nearly 600 people and investigated repeat dosing. In results reported in 2026, 39% of participants receiving two 25 milligram doses achieved at least a 25% reduction on the MADRS depression scale at week 6, and the response was maintained throughout 26 weeks among those same responders. That does not mean 39% were cured. That's not what the measurement means, but we've crossed a line where psychedelic treatment isn't merely an interesting laboratory experiment anymore. We're talking about late-stage clinical development involving hundreds of people with serious psychiatric illnesses. And then there's PTSD. A July 2026 study looked at 12 military veterans with severe treatment-resistant PTSD. After 2 psilocybin sessions, 9 of the 12 no longer met the diagnostic criteria for the PTSD, literally just 1 month later. Now, 12 people is a tiny study. It was open label and designed mainly to test safety and feasibility. So no, we haven't cured PTSD with mushrooms. But when 9 out of those 12 people with severe PTSD no longer meet the diagnostic criteria afterward, you don't ignore that. In fact, you actually design a bigger friggin' study. But psychedelics get really strange when researchers stop asking only whether symptoms improve and start asking what people actually experience. Psilocybin can produce what researchers call mystical type experiences, feelings of unity or sacredness or transcendence, a profound meaning. And a 2026 review of 13 psychedelic trials found that 69% reported a positive relationship between these experiences and improvements in anxiety and depression. That doesn't mean meeting God cures depression. It means that experience itself might actually matter. And then, of course, you got DMT, where this goes completely off the rails. Johns Hopkins researchers surveyed 2,561 people who reported encountering apparently autonomous entities while using DMT. People described beings, spirits, aliens, guides, and helpers. 69% said they received some kind of message. And more than half of those who identified as atheist before no longer identified as atheist afterwards. Think about that. A chemical experience was so powerful, it changed how some people answered one of humanity's oldest questions. Does that prove God exists? Absolutely not. The brain can create experiences that feel completely real. Dreams do it, hallucinations do it, and psychedelic surveys have major limitations. But DMT gives us one hell of a mystery. Across thousands of reports, people describe geometric worlds, tunnels, strange environments, and encounters with apparently intelligent beings, including the famous machine elves. Of course, none of that proves another dimension exists. It means you can give human beings a particular molecule, and a surprising number of them report entering structured worlds and encountering things they perceive as, well, other minds. And that's where this episode's going to change a little bit, because we spent the most of the time describing psychedelics using the language of 2026. Serotonin receptors, neuroplasticity, brain networks, clinical trials, and psychiatry. But humanity didn't always have those words. So rewind the clock. What happens when someone has one of these experiences thousands of years ago? There's no psychiatrist, there's no MRI, no 5-H22A receptors, no word for psychedelics. Just a human being, a plant, a mushroom, and something on the other side of consciousness saying, "I've been waiting for you." Because now we have to ask a much more dangerous question. How many times in human history did we call an altered state of consciousness revelation? And with 69% of people reporting the same thing, all you'd have to do is get your friends to take the same mushrooms that you did, and it's likely they're going to experience something very similar and likely agree with you. And now you're a prophet? Come on, man. Now, I want to walk directly into the part of this episode that's probably going to piss some people off. Because before we ask whether psychedelics helped create our gods, I've got a more basic question. What even qualifies something as a god? Seriously, think about it. Does it have to create a universe? Does it have to be immortal? Does it have to know everything? Does it have to be all-powerful? Or does it simply have to be so much more intelligent and capable than you? For its perspective, the difference between it is merely technology and magic. It becomes meaningless. If intelligence is humanity's greatest advantage, if this weird 3-pound brain is what allowed a physically mediocre ape to split atoms, walk on the moon, and manipulate DNA, then maybe what ancient humans interpreted as divinity wasn't necessarily magic. Maybe God has always been our word for something we believe sits impossibly far above us. But if we're going to define God as literally omnipotent, we immediately run into one of philosophy's oldest headaches. The omnipotence paradox. Can an all-powerful God create a stone so heavy that God cannot lift it? If the answer is yes, there's something God cannot do. lift the stone. If the answer is no, there's something God cannot do, create the stone. Either way, ultimate power starts eating its own definition. Now, theologians aren't stupid. They've been arguing this for centuries. One common response is that omnipotence being capable of doing anything logically possible. God doesn't need to make squares circle or married bachelors, because those aren't things. They're contradictions. Fine, that's a legitimate philosophical response. But notice what happens. We went from God can do absolutely anything to God can do anything that isn't logically contradictory. Okay, then logic is at least a boundary on what the word omnipotent can coherently mean. And suddenly, all-powerful requires a terms and conditions page. Are you kidding me? Oh, and while we're defining God, can we talk about the word merciful? Because I've actually read some of these stories, and apparently ancient mercy was friggin' terrifying. The biblical flood narrative has God wiping out nearly every human and land animal aside from what was on the ark. Genesis 19 describes the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. In 1 Samuel 15:3, Saul is commanded to attack Amalek and kill men and women, children and infants, along with their animals. Then you've got the sacrificed system of the Hebrew Bible, including animal sacrifices throughout Leviticus. Christians have theological explanations for these passages: judgment, covenant, ancient warfare rhetoric, human wickedness, different understandings of divine justice. And I'm not pretending those arguments don't exist. What I'm saying is that if I encountered a human ruler who demanded worship, authorized collective destruction, required blood sacrifice, and punished disobedience, merciful? That would not be the first adjective that came to my mind. We'd probably reach for words like tyrannical, narcissistic, or sadistic. Putting the word God in front of the behavior doesn't automatically answer the moral question. And then we get to punishment, where the problem becomes even harder for me. Genesis 6:3 says, "His days shall be 120 years." Exactly what that means is debated. Some interpret it as human lifespan limit. Others interpret it as a countdown to the flood, but let's take the lifespan interpretation for the sake of this argument. You've given me roughly a century to figure out the biggest question imaginable. I arrive on Earth knowing absolutely nothing. I inherit whatever culture happens to raise me. I'm suddenly surrounded by competing religions, scriptures, denominations, prophets, and people insisting that their supernatural explanation is the correct one. And under some traditional Christian understandings of hell, getting that decision catastrophically wrong can carry an eternal consequence. Not 120 years, not 1,200 years, not a million. Eternity. For the rest of existence. Forever and always. For 120 years. How does a finite lifetime produce an infinite sentence? Christians have sophisticated answers. Hell as a freely chosen separation from God, punishment corresponding to the nature of the offense rather than its distribution, and disagreements over what hell even means. Humanity has created thousands of religions, traditions, worshipped countless gods, and produced completely incompatible explanations of reality. You got Zeus, and he's mythology, or Odin, and he's also mythology. Ra is mythology. Somebody else's revelation is superstition, but somehow ours is the one where the supernatural shit actually happened. That doesn't prove every religion is false, but it should make us humble about claiming we found the cosmic answer key. And gods themselves often look suspiciously human. Jealousy, angry, demanding loyalty, choosing favorites, punishing betrayal. Maybe a divine intelligence communicates through concepts humans understand. Or maybe we created gods in our image and eventually convinced ourselves that it happened the other way around. And then there's divine hiddenness. If God exists, loves humanity, wants us to know him, and has the power to make himself known, why are we still debating whether he exists? My kids don't have faith that I exist, they know I exist. And knowing I exist doesn't eliminate their freedom to tell me no. That's why Eden bothers me. An all-knowing God creates Adam and Eve, puts the forbidden tree within reach, and allows the serpent into the situation. Already knowing exactly what's going to happen, and then humanity suffers the consequence? Because of what our ancestors did? Allegedly? We call that a test of free will. But if I put something dangerous beside my toddler knowing exactly what would happen, I wouldn't call that a test. I'd call it shitty baby-proofing. And if God already knows the outcome, what exactly is he testing? What's he testing us for? Now, let's bring psychedelics back into this, right? Imagine an ancient human experience, ego death, leaving their body, hearing a voice, encountering an apparently intelligent being, and becoming one with the universe, and then, of course, returning absolutely convinced they received knowledge from somewhere else. Today, we can investigate psychedelics, dreams, fasting, meditation, neurological conditions, and altered state of consciousness. Thousands of years ago, though, you might have to say you met a freaking god. You tell somebody, they tell somebody else, the story survives, you, of course, and then eventually somebody writes it down, rituals develop around it, rules follow, institutions form, and generations later, nobody remembers the original experience. They just know the story is sacred. That doesn't prove psychedelics created religion, but it gives us a fascinating natural explanation for at least some experiences humanity may have called revelation. Of course, I have to leave the other possibility open too. What if psychedelics aren't simply manufacturing these experiences? What if consciousness itself is stranger than we can currently understand? Maybe the brain generates everything we're experiencing, or maybe someday we'll discover something completely unexpected about consciousness and reality. We don't know. But we don't know is not evidence for God. An unexplained experience doesn't become supernatural just because we can't explain it yet. I experienced something I cannot explain is intellectually honest. Therefore, I know exactly what it was, is where we make an enormous leap. If compelling evidence for God ever appears, I'll change my mind. That's what skepticism is, I suppose. And I am a huge skeptic. I read the Bible all the time, and I study other religions all the time, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. One of the biggest arguments is that, well, there has to be a creator. Okay, by that same logic, then why can't just everything exist? Everything in existence could just simply exist by your same logic. And through all of my studying, I would agree that Christ is king. I'm not a religious person, and I don't think that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, in my opinion. I think that he cared about humanity so much that he was willing to believe what he believed, and it got him killed. He died loving you. That's a fact. And most scholars would agree that Jesus was a real human being. Now, whether or not he was the actual Son of God, and remind you, we're talking about an omnipotent God, one that can do anything, and then you change the goalpost and it's anything in logic. Like shut up. An omnipotent God cannot exist, at least logically. And I'm truly not sorry if that offends you. That's factual. That's like saying 2 + 2 is 5. That's not true. 2 + 2 is 4. We know that. Just like an omnipotence paradox is, well, proof that an omnipotent being just simply cannot exist. So honestly, do with it what you will. If you're religious and you believe in your God, then I, in some ways, do envy you just a little bit. I wish that I could believe that there is this place that I go when I die, but I don't believe that. I've read enough in my lifetime to know that when the drip stops, it finally stops. There is no eternal afterlife. There is no heaven. When the lights go out, the lights just go out. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that, because what that does for me is that generates a sense of solace, if you will. The final peace. People who are scared of that have to have these religions where they think that they take consciousness with them. But consciousness only lies within your cerebral cortex. You only have consciousness because you have a brain that allows consciousness. Once you take that away, for example, your medial temporal lobe, the one that creates your ability to remember everything, essentially your brain's memory card, if you take that away, you have no memory. But there is one thing for sure that I do know is a fact. When you die, the energy in your body leaves your body. Energy itself never dies. It only changes form. So one might argue that energy is the soul, but that's only because just like Zeus and Odin, we've proven that they don't exist. We just haven't proved that all the other gods exist. And with an ever-changing religious mindset, like I said, there's over 10,000 religions in the world. Your religion's the true one. Yours is the realest out of all of these 10,000. Well, I'll tell you right now, the biggest contradiction in all of those religions is if you're claiming that you have an omnipotent God. An omnipotent God simply cannot exist. It's a paradox in between itself that just doesn't allow for the other to be true. The only God that I would believe would be more accurate would be the God of Spinoza. If you don't know the God of Spinoza, well, there's a philosopher named Spinoza from back in like the 1500s who made the suggestion that all of organic life is connected all in one thing. And that would make sense because if you look at the Big Bang, which isn't the Big Bang, if you will, it was more of a mass expansion rapidly and or quickly. All of that energy separated and just kind of went outward into space. And so if fragments of your energy was sent throughout everything, I mean, we're all connected. We all would be God in a sense. If you could Play-Doh us back together, we would be this massive ball of energy in existence, floating around in space until we separated and went into something like a conscious body, like the body that you're in right now listening to this episode. So, did psychedelics create God? I don't know. Maybe somebody ate something. Maybe somebody fasted until their brain started doing weird things. Maybe somebody dreamed it or had a neurological event or an experience that something science still doesn't understand. Maybe psychedelics didn't introduce humanity to God at all. Maybe they introduced humanity to the unbelievable depth of our own consciousness, and we mistook this voice inside the room for someone knocking from the other side. Until there's evidence showing me otherwise, I'm going with the explanation that requires the fewest miracles. The gods didn't create us in their image, we created them in ours. It's definitely more logical. And that's where I'm leaving this one. I'm not asking you to stop believing God, start eating mushrooms, or agree with a single thing that I've said today. I'm asking you to question why you believe what you believe. Maybe psychedelics helped shape some of humanity's earliest spiritual ideas. Maybe every entity, God, or other worldly realm people encounter is being constructed entirely inside the human brain. Maybe consciousness is stranger than either side realizes. I don't know, and I'm comfortable saying that because I don't know is an intellectual weakness. Sometimes it's the most honest answer we've got. What I won't do is take the space between what we know and what we don't know and automatically fill it with God. And if this episode pisses you off, good. Tell me I'm wrong. Go to my comment section and tell me I'm wrong. If you loved it, tell me what I missed. If you've had a psychedelic experience that completely changed what you believe about reality, I especially want to hear that story, because whether God is real, invented, hiding, dead, imaginary, interdimensional, or just the name human gave something that they saw from some kind of weird hallucination, we're still left with something incredible. We're conscious enough to ask questions, and somehow we're still stupid enough to fight about the answer. I'll be back next Saturday at 7 a.m. with another episode of The Witch Show. And until then, keep questioning everything, guys, including me. Hit me with your questions, because I want to hear them. You know it's Georgie, and I'm always thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Well, dude, I found God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Nope, different guy.
We've been talking about psychedelics for like 30 minutes, and that's your opening statement?
I met him spiritually, dude.
You didn't take anything, did you?
No.
Thank God.
Well, I ate a mushroom.
God damn it.
From the refrigerator.
Oh.
And then I took mushrooms.
There it is.
Relax, dude. I'm kidding. But I have been thinking about Georgie's whole argument.
You're Georgie.
Yeah, I know. I'm conspiracy Georgie. You're rational Georgie. And there's narrative Georgie. Look, we're all Georgie, all right? Kind of like Spinoza.
No, Spinoza was a philosopher. You're a freaking idiot.
Whatever, dude.
Say what you will, but it's already dangerous to talk about that stuff.
Look, dude, if psychedelic drugs can make people meet entities and ancient people may have interpreted unexplained experiences as gods,
yes.
what if Moses wasn't talking to a freaking burning bush?
Please don't.
What if the bush was talking because Moses was absolutely freaking zooted?
There it is. That's where we're going to get our freaking hate mail from.
Oh, calm down, dude. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, that's what every idiot says immediately before saying something that ruins Thanksgiving.
Okay, fine. Different question. If God is all-powerful, can he make a mushroom so strong that even he starts seeing gods?
Holy shit.
Because then there's two gods, dude.
That's not how the omnipotence paradox works.
Well, three if both take mushrooms.
Please stop multiplying God.
I'm building a pantheon.
You're building a headache.
Speaking of missing creatures,
Oh, no.
we got a postcard from Gary.
Gary, the missing squirrel. Your missing squirrel?
Dude, calm down. He's also your squirrel, too.
No, he's not. I hate Gary.
That's because you don't understand him. But anyway, yeah, we got a postcard from Gary.
Okay, where is he?
It just says, "Don't come looking for me. I have seen beyond the veil."
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but there's a picture of him licking a mushroom.
Jesus Christ.
Again, probably a different guy.
Where was the postcard sent from?
Boise.
Gary's in Boise?
Maybe, dude. Postmark says Boise. Return address says
Says what?
the astral plane.
That's not an address.
zip code 208, dude.
That's not a zip code either.
Whatever, dude. I'm just happy he's alive.
You actually don't know that.
He signed it.
What'd he say?
Tell RG God is real.
Oh my God, I can't with
There's
you.
more.
Of course there is.
He owes me $20.
What?
Apparently, God's been gambling.
Oh, fantastic. So after an entire episode discussing theology, neuroscience, consciousness, and the nature of reality, our official conclusion is that God owes a missing squirrel $20.
Dude, $20 is $20.
Can we please just end the show?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But first, one final philosophical question.
No.
If we're all God's children,
I literally said no.
and God baby-proofed Eden,
He didn't. That was literally the point, dude. He didn't.
then who left the snake in there?
Were you even listening?
That's like putting a toddler in the kitchen with a chainsaw and going, "Now remember, Daddy loves you. Don't touch that."
You know what? You know what, CG?
What?
Maybe there is a God.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Well, what changed your mind, dude?
Oh, it's simple. Because only a higher power could give me the strength not to strangle you.
Aw, how sweet.
That wasn't sweet.
Well, I felt something.
Yeah, it's probably the mushrooms.
I only ate the refrigerator ones.
I can't with you.
Hey, RG,
What?
maybe we should roll the song before I achieve enlightenment.
Oh, gladly.
Oh, and Gary, if you're listening,
Just don't.
God wants us $20 back.
Oh my God. Jarvis, roll the song.
I went looking for God, but nobody was home. So I ate what I found. Now I'm not alone. There's a voice in the ceiling. There's a face in the trees. There's a dude made of colors, and he's staring at me. Said he knows why we're living. Said he knows how we die. I said cool, but before we get started, can you tell me why? Why every God needs a story? Why every truth needs faith? Why everybody swears their heaven is the only fucking place? Maybe Moses saw a fire, maybe prophets heard a voice, maybe humans found religion trying to explain the noise. So give me one good reason, give me something I can see. Cause trust me bro, it's written down, ain't evidence to me. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. Maybe heaven's in the chemicals inside your brain. Maybe angels, maybe aliens, maybe we're insane. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. I don't know, and that's okay. Show me proof, I'll change today. Maybe we found something out there. Maybe we made it all up anyway. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. They said, son, you gotta have faith. I said, faith don't make shit true. I believed I'd win the lottery. I'm still broke. How about you? Got a serpent in the garden, got a tree you shouldn't touch if you're all knowing and you're watching. Didn't baby proof it much. Got 1,000 different answers and they all say they're the one. Everybody else's God is fake, but yours somehow won. Maybe Odin, maybe Yahweh, maybe Zeus was on the line. Maybe somebody ate a mushroom and said, holy shit, it's sign. Give me one good reason, give me something I can see. If the truth can handle questions, then it shouldn't fear me. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. Maybe heaven's in the chemicals inside your brain. Maybe angels, maybe aliens, maybe we're insane. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. I don't know, and that's okay. Show me proof, I'll change today. Maybe we found something out there. Maybe we made it all up anyway. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. Okay, for the record, I don't actually recommend finding God this way. Georgie! What? We found Gary! Where? He's talking to a tree! God damn it, Gary. there's something beyond us. Maybe nothing's there at all. Maybe consciousness is stranger than the gods upon the wall. I don't need another answer just because I fear the gray. I'd rather live without the answer than believe one anyway. If you're out there, I am listening. You know exactly where I stay. You don't need a book or prophet, just say, hey. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. Maybe heaven's in the chemicals inside your brain. Maybe angels, maybe aliens, maybe we're insane. Maybe God was just a mushroom away. Question everything, even me. If there's something on the other side, then someday maybe we will see. But until then, I don't need faith to admit there's shit I don't understand today. Maybe God, maybe us, maybe nothing. Maybe a fucking mushroom.